for sure.
All right. We are officially live. What's going on, you two?
Not much. How about you boys?
It's good.
Thanks for having me on one of your heady chats.
It's good. It's good to see you again, Sean. I know we don't get to see that often. We just see you on socials, but we don't get to see that much in conversation. So it's always fun. It's always fun having you and the energy. So, and you got all these lights in the background, which are pretty epic. Not sure what's
Yeah,
going on there, but
my
it's
son's
hot.
little astronaut light. So yeah, works perfectly for this conversation, right?
For this, yeah, for sure. And why we're here, we should remind people why we're here because I think the three of us have done it. We're doing it. It's a great example, and other people are trying to figure out how you create your own reality, right? And so hopefully we get to just share a little knowledge and fire people up. Can't get Jake to sit in one place to do it. No studio time for Jake. He's always on the go. But and what'd you say, Jake? Florida? You're rocking.
Florida, sunny Florida, sunny Florida.
Nice. Well, that sounds like a good reality to make.
Yeah, for sure.
I use the this will probably set the stage because I used the line, right, and just poking a little fun, but making shit or poop jokes and turning that into a 9-figure business, dancing your way to midday snacking success, and even getting high on your hemp dreams. You know what I mean? I think that's what the three of us kind of got in common.
Yeah.
Out there for some people, but I'm a big believer in myself. In ever since reading the book The Secret, that's what kind of kicked me off into it. Of like,
Yeah.
I can choose my own destiny. I can make this happen while being myself, and that's what I want to chat about today. So
Yeah. I want to add something. So I think you're right. Like choosing your destiny is critical, but I think what the three of us do really well is we lean into the superpowers that we discovered on the journey, that we're really good at, and how powerful that is, to use to your advantage when you're building a business. And I think really defining what you're not good at and what you're good at through your journey is critical, because you get partners that are not good at, maybe great at what you're not good at, and you get team members the same thing. So I think that, like, I don't know, all of us have done that, and all of us are, unapologetic, with how we show up, and both physically and online, we're the same people, which I think is super important. And I think authenticity is something common between the three of us, even though we live in three completely different places. And
Right, yeah.
we all just have that energy.
Two of us live in the Midwest, Jake. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and then you got the French. You got the French friend.
Oui, tu parles français. Sean's been to Montreal a couple of times.
Yeah, I have. Great times.
Yeah, well, I think, and maybe you're the honored guest on this one, Sean. So maybe we can kick into it. But your point there, Jake, of like, yeah, being yourself and then having partners, it's even harder. Like the reality is of choosing your own destiny, and then whether it's partners, friends, or family, like you have to stand up for all that, and you can get pressured to not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
I think like Jake's point about authenticity. I mean, there's a theory kind of in all of this reality creation stuff that the universe wants to reward people who are authentically acting with like their heart and their soul, and that's like something everyone has inside of us. It's all tied to this greater energy, and that is what you should be chasing and you should be creating after. And too often people are kind of suppressing that, and maybe they're thinking too much with their head, or I should have went to college or worked in this banking job, and but deep down in their heart they always wanted to be a musician, and it's like, if that is what is in there, that is your secret to creating your own reality, is the authenticity. So it's not only like it kind of works, it's like that is how you are time in the universe and being much more productive. And so the whole follow your heart thing, like that is so true. And it's not easy to do. And you're always dialing it in. And what do I really want right now? But that is, everything happens after that.
And I think, Sean, I think something that's important is, like, you nailed it. Like, I think a lot of people, as we grow up, whatever age you are, growing up could be any age, but I think we tend to conform. We like to fit in. We like to, be like everybody else, play it safe. And I think, at least what entrepreneurship has taught me is that, it's anything but safe. And, leaning into who you actually are, and you learn as you go on and you become that person, is actually your superpower. Like that authenticity that you have is not conforming. That's the opposite of conformity. And I think when you lean into that and you actually discover it, that's actually like one of your greatest, I won't say weapons, but one of your greatest assets that you have in life, whether it's in business or your personal life. And, till I was 25 years old, and I'm only 32 now, but till I was 25 years old, I was scared to be different. I was scared to lean into who I was. And I think that changes as you experience things, that changes as you risk things. And I think that, you do a phenomenal job. I watch your business. I use your products. I see how people talk about you in the business, and there's different energy that comes with it. And the way that you show up is this contagious energy. And I think, like, my big question, I think Mike would want to know it too, is, did you always show up like that since day one? Or did you gain that as you grew? And did you learn that as you built your business?
Yeah. And the second part of that question, Sean, is like the how, vision board, process, like that part I think will be helpful to people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think similar to you, Jake, like you find yourself at certain points in your life, and it's always an evolution, but being an entrepreneur is like one version of being like an artist, essentially. And it's like, okay, I've decided I'm going to go on this journey and create this net new thing to the world. And that is really when you get to start like expressing yourself. So, for me, I kind of always had a similar attitude, but until I had something like Dude Wipes, like a project to manifest after, I wasn't able to kind of continuously dial in and have something, to create. So I think that moment is powerful. And I think you're always getting better at it, and hopefully not worse. I think that's what can happen in the business world too, is like the business can get big and then there can be pressure to act like everybody else or like suppress it. So you have to fight that along the way as things grow and become more corporate. But yeah, at the end of the day, like we all have this child internal spirit that like we know who we are, and it's just about letting it out and not letting it get like suppressed by society. And some of the how is just having something, Mike, to like express yourself, after and picking it and then just committing to it for a very long period of time. And so I think, vision boards and writing things down is great, but like what really is great is like Jake's in Florida right now. Like he's going to pitch somebody and bring the energy and like put it out there. And so you can't have the attraction part without the action. So you need to just be like constant action against the thing, but from an authentic space. Like those two are the magic. And read some books along the way and stuff, but it really is as simple as putting those things together on a daily basis.
Mike, before you go, just an important thing that Sean said is the child inside of you. And Mike, you and I have talked about this when we hang out always. Like, how do you bring that out? And I think as you build a business or your career, whether it's entrepreneurship or the career world, at one point we get scared to continue to be that child, and we're fearful of losing, the things we've built or the success that we've had. And I'm guilty of this too, where as we were growing Midday Squares, I was starting to get actually a little bit more fearful. So my question to both of you guys, who I look up to tremendously, is how do you maintain that child? How do you bring it back as the pressure gets higher, as the stakes get higher, as you grow more in life? How do you bring back that original, mini Sean, mini Mike, that is the person that people love, or what built the brand or the career originally? That's like as like a student right now, I want to learn. So can both of you share?
Yeah, and I'll just back up first on like, because I came from I don't even know if I was on the basement level of rock bottom. I think I was in the basement, like a couple floors down. And so when I went through my weight loss and I got into business at 21 and I moved out of my mom's house, I had this like big vision. I read The Secret. I was like, okay, wait, there's more to this. There's a spiritual energy to this. I have to be really clear. And so in my apartment, in my bedroom, the first thing I had on the wall was a 4x8 cork board, and that was my vision board. I just started adding things to it. Some things that I was just keeping, but then some things that I was like, I want that, and I want to get clarity around that. And I woke up every day looking at it, and right before I went to bed, I stopped. And so other people do different versions of that, but I found that when I was really just starting out, that was super helpful. And you said it there, Sean. It's vision, and then that's got to turn into a plan and action. Like we have to take the action. But a lot of people, I think, struggle with like, hey, I want to be this, and I see this potential in myself, but you just don't give yourself license enough to really fulfill the vision, so that you start to take action, right? And so that's how I did it. And then Jake, the second point of your question there, I did feel the pressure, right? Like I tell the story when the first trade show that I showed up at as a 21-year-old founder, I wore a suit and tie, and people were like, "What are you doing wearing a suit and tie?" I'm like, "I'm in business, like you're the hemp guy. What are you doing?" And then other people were like, "Oh, I was reflecting back," but I felt it when we got venture capital and we had a board, and after we sold the company to a public company. I never showed up in like the IBM suit and tie, but I felt some of those pressures, and I just kept on giving myself permission to show up as myself, right? Like, exude my health and walk into the office with a green juice, even though that might be weird to everybody else in the meeting or whatever. But it's like those little actions prove to myself that I could really be who's just resonating up from the inside, right? Your emotional child, your spiritual child.
For sure. Yeah, I think just like the belief that that is the right thing to do, and kind of like how you're going to connect with the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, like that is, your authentic self. And so once you believe that, it's like, well, why would anything else pull me off track? And so you can kind of ignore the norms that come along. But like, in the transurfing reality sort of like world, there's a theory that like the universe is a mirror, and behind the mirror is infinite possibilities of what could transpire. Like, Jake, you could have been a banker, like your life, Mike could still be in the basement. Like all of our lives could have went in infinite different directions. And you take your authentic self and your authentic energy and you channel it into that mirror with the vision board and all the things you want to be and the action. And then the mirror starts to slowly reflect back to you what you are thinking about, taking action about, manifesting. But that only works well when you're hitting it with your heart and soul and authenticity. Otherwise, if you're using your head too much, you would have manifested the banker life and maybe been unhappy and, all of those things. And I think that's what most people are doing. We're all manifesting, right? Doesn't matter if it's going good, it's going bad, it's going okay. But the best way to manifest is with your heart and soul. So I think that just keeping that in mind, if you're doing it the best way, and don't let anybody else talk you out of it.
I love that, Sean. So my favorite story that I went through in my life that was actually something very small, but had a huge trajectory change in my life was my first ever meeting in New York for Wall Street. I was so nervous. I was like panicking. I was with my brother-in-law, Nick, and we were in the hotel room about to go to the meeting. It was an investment bank. And I got dressed up in like the fancy suit outfit. And he's like, "Are you sure you're going to want to wear that outfit?" Like basically saying like, "That's not you." And I was like, "Yeah, we have a serious meeting. I got to show up serious." Then I said this, like I had this weird feeling in my gut that just told me I got to get out of this outfit. It's not who I am. And I don't feel energized. I don't feel alive. I feel like it's a chore. And I literally ripped off the outfit and I put on my beach shirt. My nipples were half out, open shirt, shorts. And I walked into this Oakwood room and everyone turned around in the meeting. We had the briefcase, they turned around. And first they looked at me and then they looked at me and they started laughing. And it created this like energy that was contagious. And it was like, they were so willing to like, even like humanize more just because they felt that authentic energy. Yes. And that's what taught me, like we tell ourselves a story. And that story we tell ourselves is extremely powerful on how we dictate our entire life, whether it's personal life or the corporate life. And I think both of you, what I've seen from both of you, knowing you guys for a couple of years, is you guys tell yourself a story that's true to you, that you can feel through the camera, that you can feel when I'm physically with you. And it's inspiring. And I think more people need to see more of that. And that needs to be more elevated across all socials and across physical, experiences, because it encourages others to tell themselves a different story that they're currently telling themselves.
Yeah, 100%, Jake. But it's not easy, and you have to get to that place of confidence in yourself. I still like, hey, listen, I have my girlfriend will tell me when it's -30 outside in winter and I'm going to give a keynote and I wear shorts and she's like, "What are you doing? You like put a pair of pants on. You're ridiculous." And I'm saying, I feel good this way. I want to just express myself. I want to show up with my like full power. I won't. And there's been a couple times that I second guessed myself and I put a pair of pants on and I feel restricted, and it's like it's a bad scene, you know, like
Yeah.
get to bed, but it's those things that maybe sound ridiculous to some people, right? But it's like
Right.
it's like looking inside yourself and giving yourself full permission for what feels like it wants to come out, and then defend that to people and like create that space, and then just see how powerful that is. Like some of the questions in the audience are exactly that. Like, what if you're pitching to corporate suits? Be yourself and shine your light. What if it's media and it's like a national news? Be yourself, shine your light. You know, that's what comes to mind for me.
What's the worst case? Someone doesn't like you, someone judges you, someone doesn't buy your service, your product, or hire you, then maybe it wasn't the right fit, right? And I think that when you're acting authentically yourself and you're giving yourself permission to be yourself, so you give yourself the license, which you shouldn't have to, but you do, you actually are acting with energy and you're acting with this aliveness, this joie de vivre, as they say, joy of life, and people feel it. And right. I think the moment you access that, you are unstoppable, because no one in the world is Mike, no one in the world is Sean, and no one in the world is Jake. And we are put on this earth, whether you believe it or not, to fulfill some sort of action or some sort of duty of who you are, right? And I think life is a lifelong journey of understanding who that person is and taking those actions. I think the number one thing you got to do is take baby steps every day to start breaking down the story that's stopping you from being yourself. And it sounds cheesy, but I think like all of us have had moments in our lives, whether it be in the corporate world or professional, in the personal world, where authenticity has led to failure, but also huge success. And those failures are learnings, or those rejections are learnings. But it's allowed us to become more of who we actually are, right? And I think that's the whole point of life. Everything else is irrelevant, more or less, if you think about it, because we're all going to die, right? You might as well be that authentic self throughout your whole journey, because that's going to bring everything around you, the energy or the opportunities or the people that matter most, right?
For sure. Yeah, and I think like pitching to corporate suits or whatever, like it's fine. If you're showing up as yourself, you're going to be more noticed. Like it's not going to be as awkward as you think. People are going to appreciate it deep down. And like corporate suits are looking for opportunities from creative people who are being themselves, you know? And it also doesn't mean that yourself can't be a guy who likes to wear a really nice suit and, you know, like all of that too. Like, it's just like what makes you feel good and makes you feel like you're totally being yourself and at your best. And that's going to get you to your goals that you're visualizing.
And, and you're right, by the way, the entrepreneur or corporate, like not one's better than the other. As long as you're authentic within each, if you're in the corporate world and you're authentic, you're the same as an entrepreneur being authentic. It's the exact same thing, right? Like, I know we keep saying corporate suits and stuff, but like, I know a lot of my friends and colleagues and you know, and people I know who, you know, are authentically themselves within organizations, and it's like thunder, lightning. You feel their energy, and it's amazing, and it's alive, right? So you could do it in any part of your life, is what I'm trying to say.
That's a good tee up, because Adrian made a comment. If I could talk about the fitness transformation, and for sure, like as crazy as it was, for anyone that's watching and doesn't know, I used to weigh 300 pounds when I was 18 years old. I hit my rock bottom, 300, 320. And the day I decided to do the journey, I wasn't sure where that journey was going to make me. But as silly as it sounds, like I used to sit in front of the mirror and like pull back my triple, quadruple chin and be like, oh my God, that's what I'm going to look like when I'm 100 pounds lighter. You know what I mean? And like, and envision that. Obviously, there was a tremendous amount of hard work, but it was actually seeing what was on the other side of the gap. Like there's this, it's, you know, I love the black hole theory, you know, the black hole theory, like the darkest of the dark is right up beside and couldn't get any closer to the lightest of the light, you know? And so a lot of times it's like the gap may be instantaneous. It might be a mind switch for us. It might be a mindset. It might be tapping into ourselves in a certain way. And other times it's a little bit bigger gap, but it's still right there. You know, everything we want is right there. We just have to get clear on it and channel that every single day as we're doing the hard work, you know? Like I don't know if it's any more complex than that.
No, that visualization you're talking about, you know, which we've been talking about here, whether you're meditating, visualizing, vision board, your brain doesn't understand the difference between reality and things that you're thinking about. And so you're creating that belief in your brain. You're kind of tricking your brain like, oh, I'm going to be jacked. I'm going to look like this. And your brain then is starting to believe it. And then you show up and take the actions and it all just starts coming together. So that's where visualization is so important. then combined with the action, I think just like that's where The Secret gets a bad rap. Like people are like, oh, you can't just sit on your couch and, be a millionaire by thinking about it or whatever. It's like, no one's saying that. But if you don't think about those things and start programming your brain to do it, you aren't going to be successful when you're showing up in these actions.
And then momentum, right? And like, so action, creates small movement, and then that small movement compounds again and again, and you consistently keep showing up, and that's going to turn into some massive growth. So if you visualize and then you take action and then you keep repeating and rinsing, you rinse and repeat that the whole time, you're going to grow so much in life. And I think we as humans forget how powerful momentum is as a force in your life. And I think that, you got to take advantage of it, but momentum works in both ways. It works positive and it works negative. If you visualize negativity and you manifest that negativity, your actions will continue going that way. So there is, real initiative in being intentional on all of this and focusing on actually making those positive movements forward.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to have a time for a couple questions, I think. So if you have them, throw them in the chat. But just that point there to double down on it, because some people don't see the negative in, I say like worrying is praying for something you don't want to happen, right? But we can all feel that in day-to-day lives. Ever had that time when you're late and you're running out of your house to go to wherever you have to go, and you're already scrambling because you're late, and then all of a sudden you're speeding a little bit, so then you get a ticket and you're like, oh shit, this can't happen to me because I have to go, and then all of a sudden you get out of the ticket and you're really, really late and you're going, and all of a sudden you get a flat tire. Like, have those ever things? And a lot of that is the opposite is also true. You know what I mean? The day for me is going to go really, really well today. Opportunities are really just going to come into me. This meeting that I'm having, this session right here, which I'm stoked about because, this is our second time going live on YouTube. We got 3 people on YouTube that are watching this live on top of the LinkedIn. I just want to share it, right? And so I've been envisioning this and then trying to get Jake into the vision of it too. So it's actually working. It's one of those things that keep on tuning up, call it optimistic thinking. Think about the success in the future that you're going to have, envision that, and then action and momentum. And the part that I'd add on to your momentum, Jake, is it's a lot easier when you're with people, peer-to-peers, or you have good mentors or mass mentors that are also in that space. Then you're going to do more reps of that, because unfortunately the rest of the world's like, you can't control your own life. Just, do it the miserable way or whatever the majority of people are doing, unfortunately.
Jake, just on your negativity thing, a little tip for people is, negativity has momentum just as much. And you think of energy as like a pendulum that swings through. So just say things are happening in politics and there's a bunch of negative energy about it and everyone's bickering and everyone's divisive. That is a super powerful energy field that is sucking people in. It's not easy to avoid it. But once you just call it for what it is, a negative energy field that is attracting a bunch of other negativity, you can just step back and just watch it swing by and say, oh, there it goes. I'm not getting involved. I'm staying out of that negative energy. I have this vision. I have this positive thing. I'm moving this way. And that's been a really powerful visualization for me. You just see people getting sucked in and you go, man, that stinks for those people, but I am not going to fall into that and be part of that, negative black hole sort of deal.
Yeah, and because it's infinite, right? It can keep going down and down and down and down, and then you land up in a place you never thought you'd land up. But the truth is your brain was actually taking you there. I also think when you're acting authentic, or your visualization, you're manifesting, you're doing all the right things, you're taking the forward movement and you're creating momentum, there is going to be things that go wrong too, and that is okay. Right. The failure or the rejection, I think that we also need to reframe that and kind of say I always say on average thinking and on average decision making will lead to, on average inputs will lead to on average outputs. And when you understand that on average also as the downside, look at it as a learning, look at it as an opportunity to become better. And when you do that, it's always forward momentum at that point, because you're equipping yourself with more tools, right? You're equipping yourself with more experiences, more courage that you had than the average person would have. So I don't know. I think I think today's session of this conversation is super powerful. It's just it's not even about business. It's about life. And I think that's the cool part about this convo.
Yeah, it's everything. It reminded me of, and again, optimistic philosophy, right? I remember one of my sessions with my therapist, and I was going through a major challenging time in life and the family and stuff, and she was asking me about it, and I could just replay it to her, but I always ended it with, but I'm looking forward to this. And I've programmed myself in life through a lot of the hardship, a lot of the pain, a lot of the chopping wood, carrying water work, with always looking forward to something in life, whether that's a trip, whether that's a certain day, whether that's a milestone, whatever it is, and have that as an anchor, so that anything that comes up, I'm like, yeah, it's bad coming up. I could witness that, but I'm anchored to this in the future. And I think I don't know, your feedback there, Sean, on I'm used to, and it's for people could look this up, but the meditation, the River of Life meditation, to be able to say, like, it's a meditation practice where life is just a river. Your thoughts are a river. The politics are a river. The war, the news, all that is a river. And there's work in being able to just witness it going by and not get thrown into the river, not get dragged down to the river. And I think like a bunch of the meditation apps out there would have the River of Life meditation. So if anyone that hasn't been exposed to that before, do that a couple times and start to program your mind just to be able to witness and watch and not react or not get dragged into it, and anchor that with the optimistic philosophy of something great in the future. And it's such powerful tools for the day-to-day suck.
For sure.
Adrian's asking if just a couple minutes, throw your questions there. We'll probably answer them after in the chat anyway on LinkedIn. But have either of you guys read Atomic Habits, which is a great book I have? And do you journal? The journaling piece is, you take a journal, Sean, or what's your?
On and off. I have streaks where I'm journaling and then streaks where I'm not. I definitely have read Atomic Habits, and I think some of the things you can get overwhelmed with in the self-help or visualization or all these journeys that we're on is you could try and do too many things. So I will tell people, like, there's no silver bullet. There is like what works for you, and what works for you may be a vision board, a workout, and a meditation. What works for Jake may be a journal, cardio and dancing, what I mean? Or whatever. Like,
sure, yeah.
And so there's great things in all of these things, but, sometimes I've tried to do too much of these, all good things. And then you're not consistently executing every day.
And just to add to that, like you said it right, Sean, like, your game is your game. Like, everyone's different, and it's so easy with the world of social media and internet to get caught in, like, I need to do it like, hit him or her because they do it that way, right? And I think that, like, you got to figure out what's good for you, and that should be your priority. You can get inspiration from all these things, whether it's a book, whether it's dancing like I do, or playing padel, or maybe it's, playing music that you like. But we're all different humans, right? But I think you got to spend your time understanding what's best for your life and how that affects you, because what's good for Sean or Mike might not be good for Jake, and vice versa. And that doesn't mean I don't respect and I'm not inspired by you, but just different tools that we have because we're different humans.
For sure.
Yeah, I tell my kids, my teenagers, because it's like anything in life, you got to expand your palate and see what works for you. You don't know if you like olives and grapes and someone else likes bread and cheese or whatever. Like, you have to do that. And the same thing with some of those self-help practices. You're right. Like, I'm not a journal guy because I'm not too nostalgic about too many things besides my 77 Volkswagen Westphalia. But like, I don't like writing in a book and then going back and looking at the past. I haven't ever in my journey like that. I take electronic notes, and I'm always looking in the future to that, like what I'm trying to create. And I find that when I had journals, I'd spend too much time going back through memory lane, and just wasn't effective for me. But learning a new habit, an action, a tip or something, and then time blocking that into my calendar for next week to start works really, really well for me. Anyway, we're at time. So nice quick chat. I love how it went. Yeah, I'll tell you this one. I'm going to have this on in the background and just watch it again and listen, because I think some really good things were said, and I value you both. So love that we could do this. And to all of our new YouTube listeners, thanks for showing up on YouTube. Give it a like or whatever you do on YouTube, because not everybody's on LinkedIn, and so trying to take it outside of that too. So Jake, Sean, any closing words?
I love you both, and anyone that's showed up for us here, like, thank you. These conversations they're just fun. It's different, and I love it. So yeah, I appreciate both of you guys a lot.
Yeah, for sure. No, love chatting with you guys. Great to be friends with you guys on this journey. And anybody listening in, yeah, we're just here to share our story, and hopefully it helps out. But we're all on our own journeys, so just do your own shit.
Do your own shit and then wipe it up. Wipe it up.
There you go.
Look forward to hugging you both in a week or two. So,
2 weeks.
For sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Rock
Some
on.
dancing and poops at Expo,
There we go. Let's do it, brother.
and no bread.